Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Am I audible?
यस प्रभु जी, सुन पा रहा हूँ। हरे कृष्ण। आप स्टार्ट करेंगे ये कौन?
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य
हरे कृष्ण। स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं है क्या?
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया
वाईफाई है।
चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुयुगपदकमलं श्रीगुरुर्वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथामृतां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखां सजीवं नमो नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरकृषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पत्रयोधस्य कृपा सिन्धुवैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत राधा शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, all the devotees present over here. So let's start the day 2 of Bhagavatam with the introduction. And we were reading about the Jagai Mada incident that happened with Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Let's read further. One of the brothers, Jagai, was astonished to see this behavior of Nityananda Prabhu, and he at once fell down at his feet and asked him to pardon his sinful brother. Where Madai again attempted to hurt Nityananda Prabhu, Jagai stopped him and implored him to fall down at his feet. In the meantime, the news of Nityananda Prabhu's injury reached the Lord, who at once hurried to the spot in a fiery and angry mood. The Lord immediately invoked the Sudarshan Chakra, the Lord's ultimate weapon, shaped like a wheel, to kill the sinners, but Nityananda Prabhu reminded him of his mission. The mission of the Lord was to deliver the hopelessly fallen souls of Kali Yuga, and the brothers Jagai and Madai were typical examples of these fallen souls. 90% of the population of this age resembles these brothers despite high birth and mundane respectability. According to the verdict of the revealed scriptures, the total population of the world in this age will be of the lowest Shudra quality or even lower. It should be noted that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never acknowledged the stereotyped caste system by birthright. Rather, he strictly followed the verdict of Shastras in the matter of one's Swarupa or real identity. When Lord was invoking his Sudarshan Chakra and Srila Nityananda Prabhu was imploring him to forgive the two brothers, both the brothers fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord and begged his pardon for their gross behavior. The Lord was also asked by Nityananda Prabhu to accept these repenting souls, and the Lord agreed to accept them on one condition, that they henceforward completely give up all their sinful activities and habits of debauchery. Both the brothers agreed and promised to give up all their sinful habits, and the kind Lord accepted them and did not again refer to their past misdeeds. This is the specific kindness of Lord Chaitanya. In this age, no one can say that he is free from sin. It is impossible for anyone to say this, but Lord Chaitanya accepts all kinds of sinful person on one condition, that the promise not to indulge in sinful habits after being spiritually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master. There are a number of instructive points to be observed in this incident of the two brothers. In this Kali Yuga, practically all people are of the quality of Jagai and Madai. If they want to be relieved from the reactions of their misdeeds, they must take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and after spiritual initiation, thus refrain from those things which are prohibited in the Shastras. The prohibitory rules are dealt with in the Lord's teaching to Srila Rupa Goswami. During his householder life, the Lord did not display many of the miracles which are generally expected from such personalities, but he did once perform a wonderful miracle in the house of Srinivas Thakur while Sankirtan was in full swing. He asked the devotees what they wanted to eat, and when he was informed that they wanted to eat mangoes, he asked for a seed of a mango. Although this fruit was out of season, when the seed was brought to him, he sowed it in the yard of Srinivas, and at once a creeper began to grow out of the seed. Within no time, this creeper became a full-grown mango tree, heavy with more ripened fruits than the devotees could eat. The tree remained in Srinivas' yards, and from then on, the devotees used to take as many mangoes from the trees as they wanted. The Lord had a very high estimation of the affections of the damsels of Brajabhumi, Vrindavan, for Krishna. And in appreciation to their unalloyed service to the Lord, once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted the holy names of the gopis, cowherd girls, instead of the names of the Lord. At this time, some of his students, who were also disciples, came to see him, and when they saw that the Lord was chanting the names of gopis, they were astonished. Out of sheer foolishness, they asked the Lord why he was chanting the name of gopis and advised him to chant the name of Krishna. The Lord, who was in ecstasy, was thus disturbed by these foolish students. He chastised them and chased them away. The students were almost the same age as the Lord, and thus they wrongly thought of the Lord as one of their peers. They held a meeting and resolved that they would attack the Lord if he dared to punish them again in such a manner. This incident provoked more malicious talks about the Lord on the part of general public. When the Lord became aware of this, he began to consider the various types of men found in society. He noted that especially the students, professors, fruitive workers, yogis, non-devotees, and different types of atheists were all opposed to the devotional service of the Lord. My mission is to deliver all the fallen souls of this age, he thought. But if they commit offenses against me, thinking me to be an ordinary man, they will not benefit. If they are to begin their life of spiritual realizations, they must some way or other offer obeisances unto me. Thus, the Lord decided to accept the renounced order of like sannyas because people in general were inclined to offer respect to a sannyasi. 500 years ago, the condition of society was not as degraded as it is today. At that time, people would show respects to a sannyasi, and the sannyasi was rigid in following the rules and regulations of the renounced order of life. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not very much in favor of the renounced order of life in this age of Kali, but that was only for the reason that very few sannyasis in the age are able to observe the rules and regulations of sannyasi life. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to accept the order and become an ideal sannyasi so that the general populace would show him respect. One is duty bound to show respect to a sannyasi, for a sannyasi is considered to be the master of all varnas and ashrams. While he was contemplating accepting the sannyas order, it so happened that Keshav Bharati, a sannyasi of the Mayavadi school and is a resident of Katwa in Bengal, visited Navadip and was invited to dine with the Lord. When Keshav Bharati came to his house and Lord asked him to award him the sannyas order of life, this was a matter of formality. The sannyas order is to be accepted from another sannyasi. Although the Lord was independent in all respects, still to keep up the formalities of the Shastras, he accepted the sannyas order from Keshav Bharati. Although Keshav Bharati was not in the Vaishnav Sampradaya school. After consulting with Kesav Bharati, the Lord left Navadip for Katwa to formally accept the sannyas order of life. He was accompanied by Srila Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekhar Acharya, and Mukund Datta. These three assisted him in the details of this ceremony. The incident of the Lord's accepting the sannyas order is very elaborately described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. Thus, at the end of his 24-year the Lord accepted the sannyas order of life in the month of Magh. After accepting this order, he became a full-fledged preacher of the Bhagavad Dharma. Although he was doing the same preaching work in his householder life, when he experienced some obstacles in his preaching, he sacrificed even the comfort of his home life for the sake of fallen souls. In his householder life, his chief assistants were Srila Advait Prabhu and Srila Srinivas Thakur. But after he accepted the sannyas order, his chief assistants became Srila Nityananda Prabhu, who was deputed to preach specifically in Bengal, and six Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, who were deputed to go to Vrindavan to excavate the present places of pilgrimage, the present city of Vrindavan, and the importance of Brajabhumi were thus disclosed by the will of Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. एक्चुअली मायापुर में ऐसा है, मायापुर में जहाँ बीटी का टेम्पल है वहीं पर एक एग्जीबिशन है चैतन्य महाप्रभु के लाइफ का, तो वहां पे दिखाया जाता है कि जब चैतन्य महाप्रभु संन्यास ले रहे थे तो संन्यास लेते समय क्या होता है कि जो उनके केश हैं उसको काटे जा रहे थे। तो जब उनके केश को काटा जा रहा था तो जो नाई है जो केश को काटता है, कहा जाता है वो भी इतना जोर से विलाप कर रहा था, इतना रो रहा था। मतलब महाप्रभु के जो केश थे इतने सुंदर थे, इतने मतलब वो भी सुनहरे थे और एकदम इतना प्रभावशाली थे कि उनका केश काटते हुए, कि उनको संन्यास लेते हुए जो भी वहां पे खड़े थे सब अपने आप में विलाप कर रहे थे इस चीज को देख करके। फिर भी चैतन्य महाप्रभु ये सारी चीजें इसीलिए कर रहे हैं, ये लीला इसलिए दिखा रहे हैं ताकि वो बता रहे हैं कि जिंदगी में किसी चीज से आसक्ति नहीं होनी चाहिए। वरना अगर वो चाहते तो अपने आप भी संन्यास लेते थे। इसमें दिखा रहे हैं कि वो एक मायावादी सन्यासी से संन्यास ले रहे हैं, जबकि हम देखते हैं आगे जाकर के जो प्रभुपाद के जो गुरु भक्तिसिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर वो अपने आप संन्यास ले लेते हैं। मतलब चैतन्य महाप्रभु एक आइडल सेट करने के लिए ये सारी चीजें कर करके आ रहे हैं ताकि हम उनसे देख करके इंस्पिरेशन ले सकें कि कैसे एक आइडियल डिवोटी बनना है। तो हम समझ सकते हैं कि चैतन्य महाप्रभु कितने सुंदर रहे होंगे उस समय में उस इंसिडेंट से। The Lord, after accepting the sannyas order, at once wanted to start for Vrindavan. For 3 continuous days, he traveled in the Radha Desh, places where the Ganges does not flow. He was in full ecstasy over the idea of going to Vrindavan. However, Srila Nityanand diverted his path and brought him instead of the house of Advait Prabhu in Santipur. The Lords stayed at Sri Advait Prabhu's house for a few days, and knowing well that the Lord was leaving his heart and home for good, Sri Advait Prabhu sent his men to Navadvip to bring Mother Sachi to have a last meeting with her son. Some unsurplus people say that Lord Chaitanya met his wife also after taking sannyas and offered her his wooden sleeper for worship. But the authentic sources give no information about such a meeting. His mother met him at the house of Advait Prabhu, and when she saw her son in sannyas order, she lamented. By way of compromise, requested her son to make his headquarters in Puri so that she would easily be able to get information about him. The Lord granted this last desire of his beloved mother. After the incident, the Lord started for Puri, leaving all the residents of Navadvip in an ocean of lamentation over his separation. The Lord visited many important places on the way to Puri. He visited the temple of Gopinath, जो खीरचोड़ा गोपीनाथ कहा जाता है, बालेश्वर में है, वेरी फेमस। उसकी स्टोरी शायद आपको पता होगी। Who had stolen condensed milk for his devotee श्रीला माधवेंद्र पुरी। माधवेंद्र पुरी कौन है? चैतन्य महाप्रभु के, हाँ, माधवेंद्र पुरी के शिष्य हैं चैतन्य महाप्रभु, ईश्वर पुरी, और उनके शिष्य बनते हैं चैतन्य महाप्रभु, ऐसा होता है। हरे कृष्णा, सुन पा रहे हैं ना आप लोग? ओह या,
हाँ जी जी।
Since then, DT Gopinath ji is well known as Khirchura Gopinath. The Lord relished this story with great pleasure. The propensity of stealing is there even in the absolute consciousness. But because this propensity is exhibited by the absolute, it loses its perverted nature and thus becomes worshipable even by Lord Chaitanya on the basis of the absolute consideration that the Lord and his stealing propensity are one and identical. This interesting story of Gopinath Ji is vividly explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. After visiting the temple of Khirchura Gopinath of Remuna at Baleshwar in Odisha, the Lord proceeded towards Puri, and on the way visited the temple of Sakshi Gopal, who appeared as a witness in the matter of two Brahmana devotees' family quarrel. The Lord heard the story of Sakshi Gopal with great pleasure because he wanted to impress upon the atheists that the worshipable deities in the temples approved by the great acharyas are not idols, as alleged by men with a poor fund of knowledge. The deity in the temple is the archer incarnation of the personality of Godhead, and thus the deity is identical with the Lord in all respects. It responds to the proportion of the devotee's affection for the Lord in order to mitigate the turmoil as well as the show specific favor of his servitors. Traveled from Vrindavan to Vidyanagar, a village in Odisha, in the form of Archa incarnation. From there, the deity was brought to Katak, and thus the temple, Katak, and thus the temple of Sakshi Gopal is even today visited by thousands of pilgrims on the way to Jagannath Puri. The Lord stayed overnight there and began to proceed toward Puri. On the way, his sannyas rod was broken by Nityananda Prabhu. The Lord became apparently angry with him, and went alone to Puri, leaving his companions behind. हरे कृष्णा प्रभु, कोई आगे पढ़ सकते हैं?
जी मैं पढ़ूं?
बढ़िया।
At Puri, when starting take it. At Puri, when he entered the temple of Jagannath, He became at once saturated with transcendental ecstasy and fell down on the floor of the temple unconscious. The custodians of the temple could not understand the transcendental feats of the Lord, but there was a great learned Pandita named Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya who was present, and he could understand that the Lord's losing his consciousness upon entering the Jagannath temple was not an ordinary thing. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the chief appointed Pandita in the court of the king of Odisha, Maharaj Pratap, Prataparudra, was attracted by the youthful luster of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and could understand that such a transcendental trance was only rarely exhibited and only then by the topmost devotees who are already on the transcendental plane in complete forgetfulness of material existence. Only a liberated soul could show such a transcendental feat, and the Bhattacharya, who was vastly learned, would understand this as the light of the transcendental literature with which he was familiar. He therefore asked the custodians of the temple not to disturb the unknown sannyasi. He asked them to take the Lord to his home so he could be further observed in his unconscious state. The Lord was at once carried to the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who at that time had sufficient power of authority due to his being the Sabha Pandita, or the state dean of faculty in Sanskrit literatures. The learned Pandita wanted to scrutinizingly test the transcendental feats of Lord Chaitanya, because often unscrupulous devotees imitate physical feats in order to flaunt transcendental achievements just to attract innocent people and take advantage of them. A learned scholar like Bhattacharya can detect such impostors, and when he finds them out, he at once rejects them. In the case of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya tested all these symptoms in the light of the Shastras. He tested as a scientist, not as a foolish sentimentalist. He observed the movement of the stomach, the beating of the heart, and the breathing of the nostrils. He also felt the pulse of the Lord and saw that all his bodily activities were in complete suspension. When he put a small cotton swab before the nostrils, he found that there was a slight breathing as the fine fibers of cotton moved slightly. Thus, he came to know that the Lord's unconscious trance was genuine, and he began to treat him in the prescribed fashion. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could only be treated in a special way. He would respond only to the resounding of the holy names of the Lord by his devotees. The special treatment was unknown to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya because the Lord was still unknown to him. When the Bhattacharya saw him for the first time in the temple, he simply took him to be one of many pilgrims. In the meantime, the companions of the Lord, who reached the temple a little after him, heard of the Lord's transcendental feats and of his being carried away by the Bhattacharya. The pilgrims at the temple were still gossiping about the incident, but by chance of one of these pilgrims had met Gopinath Acharya, who was known to Gadadhar Pandit, and from him it was learned that the Lord was lying in an unconscious state at the residence of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who happened to be the brother-in-law of Gopinath Acharya. All the members of the party were introduced to Gadadhar Pandit to Gopinath, introduced by Gadadhar Pandit to Gopinath Acharya, who took them all to the house of Bhattacharya, where the Lord was lying unconscious in a spiritual trance. All the members then chanted loudly the holy name of the Lord Hari as usual, and the Lord regained his consciousness. After this, Bhattacharya received all the members of the party, including Lord Nityanand Prabhu, and asked them to become his guests of honor. The party, including the Lord, went for a bath in the sea, and the Bhattacharya arranged for their residence and meals at the house of Kashi Mishra. Gopinath Acharya, his brother-in-law, also assisted. There were some friendly talks about the Lord's divinity between the two brothers-in-law, and in this argument, Gopinath Acharya, who knew the Lord before, now tried to establish the Lord as the personality of Godhead, and the Bhattacharya tried to establish him as one of the great devotees. Both of them argued from the angle of vision of authentic Shastras and not on the strength of sentimental vox populi. The incarnations of God are determined by authentic Shastras and not by popular votes of foolish fanatics. Because Lord Chaitanya was an incarnation of God in fact. Foolish fanatics have proclaimed so many so-called incarnations of God in this age without referring to authentic scriptures. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya or Gopinath Acharya did not indulge in such foolish sentimentalism. On the contrary, both of them tried to establish or reject his divinity on the strength of authentic Shastras. Later, it was disclosed that Bhattacharya also came from the Navadip area, and it was understood from him that Nilambara Chakravarti, the maternal grandfather of Lord Chaitanya, happened to be a class fellow of the father of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. In that sense, the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya evoked paternal affection from Bhattacharya. Bhattacharya was the professor of many sannyasis in the order of the Shankaracharya Sampradaya, and he himself also belonged to that cult. As such, the Bhattacharya desired that the young sannyasi Lord Chaitanya also hear from him about the teachings of Vedanta. Those who are followers of the Shankara cult are generally known as Vedantists. This does not, however, mean that Vedanta is a monopoly study of the Shankara Sampradaya. Vedanta is studied by all bona fide Sampradayas, but they have their own interpretations. But those in these Shankara Sampradaya are generally known to be ignorant of the knowledge of the Vedantist Vaishnavas. For this reason, the Bhakti Vedanta title was first offered to the author by the Vaishnavas. The Lord agreed to take lessons from Bhattacharya on the Vedanta, and they sat together in the temple of Lord Jagannath. The Bhattacharya went on speaking continually for 7 days, and the Lord heard with all attention and did not interrupt. The Lord's silence raised some doubt in Bhattacharya's heart, and he asked the Lord how it was that he did not ask anything or comment on his explanations of Vedanta. The Lord posed himself before the Bhattacharya as a foolish student and pretended that he heard the Vedanta from him because the Bhattacharya felt that this was the duty of a sannyasi. But the Lord did not agree with his lectures. By this, the Lord indicated that the so-called Vedantists among the Shankara Sampradaya or any other Sampradaya who do not follow the instructions of Srila Vyasadeva are mechanical students of the Vedanta. They are not fully aware of the great knowledge. The explanation of the Vedanta Sutra is given by the author himself in the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. One who has no knowledge of the Bhagavatam will hardly be able to know what the Vedanta says. The Bhattacharya, being a vastly learned man, could follow the Lord's sarcastic remarks on the popular Vedantist. He therefore asked him why he did not ask about any point which he could not follow. The Bhattacharya could understand the purpose of his dead silence for the days he heard him. This showed clearly that the Lord had something else in mind. Thus, the Bhattacharya requested him to disclose his mind. Upon this, the Lord spoke as follows: My dear sir, I can understand the meaning of these sutras like Janmadi Ashayata, Shastra Yonitvat, and Athato Brahma Jigyasa of the Vedanta Sutra. But when you explain them in your own way, it becomes difficult for me to follow them. The purpose of the sutras is already explained in them, but your explanations are covering them with something else. You do not purposely take the direct meaning of the sutras, but indirectly give your own interpretations. The Lord thus attacked all Vedantists who interpret the Vedanta Sutra fashionably, according to their limited power of thinking, to serve their own purpose. Such indirect interpretations of the authentic literatures, like Vedanta Sutra, are hereby condemned by the Lord. The Lord continued, Srila Vyasadeva had summarized the direct meanings of the mantras in the Upanishads in the Vedanta Sutra. Unfortunately, you do not take their direct meaning. You indirectly interpret them in a different way. The authority of the Vedas is unchallengeable and stands without any question of doubt. And whatever is stated in the Vedas must be accepted completely, otherwise one challenges the authority of the Vedas. The conch shell and cow dung are bone and stool of two living beings, but because they have been recommended by the Vedas as pure, people accept them as such because of the authority of the Vedas. The idea is that one cannot set his imperfect reason above the authority of the Vedas. The orders of the Vedas must be obeyed as they stand without any mundane reasoning. The so-called followers of the Vedic injunctions make their own interpretations of the Vedic injunctions, and thus they establish different parties and sects of the Vedic religion. Lord Buddha directly denied the authority of the Vedas, and he established his own religion. Only for this reason, the Buddhist religion was not accepted by the strict followers of the Vedas. But those who are so-called followers of the Vedas are more harmful than the Buddhists. The Buddhists have the courage to deny the Vedas directly, but the so-called followers of the Vedas have no courage to deny the Vedas. Although indirectly they disobey all the injunctions of the Vedas. Lord Chaitanya condemned this. The examples given by the Lord of the conch shell and the cow dung are very much appropriate in this connection. If one agrees that since cow dung is pure, the stool of a learned Brahmana is still more pure, his argument will not be accepted. Cow dung is accepted and the stool of a highly posed Brahmana is rejected. The Lord continued, the Vedic injunctions are self-authorized. And if some mundane creature, adjusts the interpretations of the Vedas, he defies their authority. It is foolish to think of oneself as more intelligent than Srila Vyasadeva. He has already expressed himself in his sutras, and there is no need of help from personalities of lesser importance. His work, the Vedanta Sutra, is as dazzling as a midday sun, and when someone tries to give his own interpretations on the self-effulgent sunlight Vedanta Sutra, he attempts to cover this sun with the cloud of his imagination. The Vedas and the Puranas are one and the same in purpose. They ascertain the absolute truth, which is greater than everything else. The absolute truth is ultimately realized as the absolute personality of Godhead with absolute controlling power. As such, the absolute personality of Godhead must be completely full of opulence, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. Yet the transcendental personality of Godhead is astonishingly ascertained as impersonal. The impersonal description of the absolute truth in the Vedas is given to nullify the mundane conception of the absolute whole. Personal features of the Lord are completely different from all kinds of mundane features. The living entities are all individual persons and they are all parts and parcels of the supreme whole. If the parts and parcels are individual persons, the source of their emanation must not be impersonal. He is the supreme person amongst all the relative persons. The Vedas inform us that from him, Brahman, everything emanates, and on him everything rests. And after annihilation, everything merges in him only. Therefore, he is the ultimate dative, causative, and accommodating cause of all causes. And these causes cannot be attributed to an impersonal object. The Vedas inform us that he alone became many, and when he so desires, he glances over material nature. Before he glanced over material nature, there was no material cosmic creation. Therefore, his glance is not material. Material mind or senses were unborn when the Lord glanced over material nature. Thus, evidence in the Vedas proves that, beyond a doubt, the Lord has transcendental eyes and a transcendental mind. They are not material. His impersonality, therefore, is a negation of his materiality, but not a denial of his transcendental personality. Brahman ultimately refers to the personality of Godhead. Impersonal Brahman realization is a negative conception of the mundane creations. Paramatma is the localized aspect of Brahman within all kinds of material bodies. Ultimately, the Supreme Brahman realization is a realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to all evidence of the revealed scriptures, he is the ultimate source of Vishnu Tattvas. The Puranas are also supplementary to the Vedas. The Vedic mantras are too difficult for an ordinary man. Women, Shudras, and the so-called twice-born higher castes are unable to penetrate into the sense of the Vedas, and thus the Mahabharata and the Puranas are made easy to explain the truths of Vedas. In his prayers before the boy Sri Krishna, Brahma said that there is no limit to the fortune of the residents of Rajbhumi headed by Sri Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai, because the eternal absolute truth has become their intimate relative. The Vedic mantra maintains that the absolute truth has no legs and no hands, and yet goes faster than all and accepts everything that is offered to him in devotion. The definitely latter statement definitely suggests the personal features of the Lord, although his hands and legs are distinguished from mundane hands and legs or other senses. Brahman, therefore, is never impersonal, but when such mantras are indirectly interpreted, it is wrongly thought that the absolute truth is impersonal. The absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is full of all opulences, and therefore he has a transcendental form of full existence, knowledge, and bliss. How then can one establish the absolute truth is impersonal? Brahman, being full of opulences, is understood to have manifold energies, and all these energies are classified under three headings under the authority of Vishnu Puran, which says that the transcendental energies of Lord Vishnu are primarily three. His spiritual energy and the energy of the living entities are classified as superior energy, whereas the material energy is an inferior one, which is sprouted out of ignorance. The energy of the living entities is technically called Kshetragya energy. This Kshetragya Shakti, although equal in quality with the Lord, becomes overpowered by the material energy out of ignorance and thus suffers all sorts of material miseries. In other words, the living entities are located in the marginal energy between the superior spiritual and the inferior material energies, and in proportion to the living beings' contact with either the material or spiritual energies, the living entity is situated in proportionately higher and lower levels of existence. The Lord is beyond the inferior and marginal energies, as above mentioned, and his spiritual energy is manifested in three different phases as eternal existence, eternal bliss, and eternal knowledge. As far as eternal existence is concerned, it is conducted by the Sandhini potency. Similarly, bliss and knowledge are conducted by the, how do you spell this? Aladini. Aladini and Samvit potencies, respectively. As a supreme energetic lord, he is the supreme controller of the spiritual, marginal, and material energies. And all these different types of energies are connected with the Lord in eternal devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is thus enjoying in his transcendental eternal form. Is it not astounding that one dares to call the Supreme Lord non energetic? The Lord is the controller of all energies, and the living entities are parts and parcels of one of the energies. Therefore, there is a gulf of difference between the Lord and the living entities. How then can one say that the Lord and the living entities are one and the same? In the Bhagavad Gita, also the living entities are described as belonging to the superior energy of the Lord. According to the principles of intimate correlation between the energy and the energetic, both of them are non-different also. Therefore, the Lord and the living entities are non-different as the energy and the energetic. Is someone please continue.
Guruji, I'll continue then.
Okay.
Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and ego are all inferior energies of the Lord, but the living entities are different from all as superior energy. This is the version of Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The transcendental form of Lord is eternally existent and full of transcendental bliss. How then can such a form be a product of the material mode of goodness? Anyone, therefore, who does not believe in the form of Lord is certainly a faithless demon, and as such is untouchable, and are not to be seen persona non persona non grata fit to be punished by the Plutonic king. The Buddhists are called atheists because they have no respect for the Vedas. But those who defy the Vedic conclusions are as above mentioned, under the pretense of being followers of the Vedas, are verily more dangerous than the Buddhists. Sri Vyasadeva very kindly compiled the Vedic knowledge in his Vedanta Sutra. But if one hears the commentation of the Mayavada school, as represented by the Sankara Sampradaya, certainly he will be misled on the path of spiritual realization. Misled on the path of spiritual realization. The theory of emanations is the beginning subject of Vedanta Sutra. All the cosmic manifestations are emanations from the absolute personality of Godhead by his inconceivable different energies. The example of the touchstone is applicable to the theory of emanations. The touchstone can convert an unlimited quantity of iron into gold, and still the touchstone remains as it is. Similarly, the Supreme Lord can produce all manifested worlds by his inconceivable energies, and yet he is full and unchanged. He is Purna, and although an unlimited number of Purnas emanate from him, he is still Purna. The theory of illusion of the Mayavada school is advocated on the ground that theory of emanation will cause a transformation of the absolute truth. If that is the case, Vyasadeva is wrong. To avoid this, they have skillfully brought in the theory of illusion. But the world or the cosmic creation is not false, as maintained by the Mayavada school. It simply has no permanent existence. A non-permanent thing cannot be called false altogether. But the conception that material body is a self is certainly wrong. Pranava or the Omkara in the Vedas is the primeval hymn. This transcendental sound is identical with the form of the Lord. All the Vedic hymns are based on the Pranava Omkara. Tattvam Asi is but a side word in the Vedic literatures, and therefore this word cannot be the primeval hymn of the Vedas. Sripada Shankaracharya has given more stress on the side word Tattvam Asi than on the primeval principle Omkara. The Lord thus spoke on the Vedanta Sutra and defied all the propaganda of the Mayavada school. The Bhattacharya tried to defend himself and his Mayavada school by jugglery of logic and grammar, but the Lord defeated him by his forceful agreements. He affirmed that we are all related with the personality of Godhead eternally, and that devotional service is our eternal function in exchanging the dealings of our relations. The result of such exchanges is to attain prema or love to Godhead. When love of God is attained, love for all other living beings automatically follows, because the Lord is the sum total of all living beings. The Lord said that, but for these three items, namely eternal relation with God, exchange of dealings with Him, and the attainment of love for Him, all that is instructed in the Vedas is superfluous and concocted. The Lord further added that the Mayavada philosophy taught by Sripada Shankaracharya is an imaginary explanation of the Vedas, but it had to be taught by him, Shankaracharya, because he was ordered to teach it by the personality of Godhead. In the Padma Purana, it is stated that the personality of Godhead.
शंकराचार्य कौन थे?
Prabhuji?
Do anyone know शंकराचार्य कौन थे? शंकराचार्य कौन थे?
Yes, Prabhuji. प्रभुजी, जब जगन्नाथ
कौन
जी
थे?
को पाताले किया गया था, जब जगन्नाथ जी मतलब जब रक्तबाहु ने आक्रमण किया था, तो जगन्नाथ जी को पाताले किया गया था. तो जब पाताले किया गया था तो शायद 165 इयर्स के लिए उनको पाताले किया गया था. मेरे को एग्जैक्ट नंबर याद नहीं है. तो उनको पाताले किए थे, तो उस जगह मतलब मिल नहीं रहा था. तो तब शंकराचार्य जी को पुरी के भक्तों ने जाके मतलब रिक्वेस्ट किया. तो शंकराचार्य जी ने, जो आदि शंकराचार्य जी थे, जो कि हम बोलते हैं कि शिव जी के एक अंश हैं, तो उन्होंने आके वहाँ पे जी जो तुलसी का एक पौधा था वहाँ पे, जो कि तुलसी का है, मतलब तुलसी था या मेरे को अभी एग्जैक्टली वो स्टोरी याद नहीं है, लेकिन एक पौधा लगा दिए थे पूरी पंडा लोग जब उन्होंने पाताली किया था जगन्नाथ जी को. तो शंकराचार्य जी ने आके उस जगह को ढूंढ के जगन्नाथ जी को, फिर जो ब्रह्म है जगन्नाथ जी के नाभि में, जी ब्रह्म को
He invented established the Advait philosophy, no? Advait Vedanta.
Yeah, he is the mentor of this Mayavad philosophy. Actually, God wanted कि कुछ लोग मायावाद को ही फॉलो करें, और the reason Shiva came as Shankaracharya. हम लोग का कौन सा संप्रदाय है?
तो वैष्णव संप्रदाय.
हम लोग का कौन सा संप्रदाय है?
गौड़ीय वैष्णव.
उसका नाम क्या है?
नहीं, वो तो धर्म हो गया.
4 संप्रदाय है ना?
निम्बार्क है ना?
हरे कृष्ण.
निम्बार्क संप्रदाय.
निम्बार्क. हरे कृष्ण बोलिए.
संप्रदाय
निम्बार्क है ना?
आपको तो सबसे पहले से पता है, हमारा ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़ीय संप्रदाय है.
अच्छा, राइट.
4 संप्रदाय होते हैं, श्री, रुद्र, कुमार और ये ब्रह्म संप्रदाय. तो हमारा ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़ीय संप्रदाय है. मतलब ब्रह्मा से शुरू होकर बीच में मध्वाचार्य आते हैं, हम फिर राधा रानी के भक्त हैं इसलिए गौड़ीय समाज में आते हैं. ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़ीय संप्रदाय 4 यूनिवर्सिटीज हैं इसकी, उसमें से हम एक में आते हैं. ओके, तो कंटिन्यू करिए.
जी, इसके बारे में आप मेरे को बाद में बताइएगा एक बार, मैं समझ नहीं पाया आप क्या बोले अभी.
प्रभु जी, इस शंकराचार्य जो हरे कृष्णा
जी
प्रभु जी, शंकराचार्य मतलब संप्रदाय से हैं एक तरीके से इनका.
आपकी आवाज थोड़ी कट रही है प्रभु. हरे कृष्णा.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, जो मायावादी फिलोसफी वाले जो है मतलब इट मीन शंकराचार्य जी का मतलब इनका कौन सा संप्रदाय है प्रभु?
तो वो तो मुझे अच्छे से नहीं पता, लेकिन
चारों
ये
में से?
शायद इनमें से नहीं आते होंगे, क्योंकि इनका मायावाद संप्रदाय लिखा था ना इसमें, आदि शंकराचार्य का
ओके
संप्रदाय
ओके।
है ये वैष्णव संप्रदाय में शायद
हाँ
4 संप्रदाय होते हैं, मैं
इन चारों
श्योर
में
नहीं हूँ,
से
हम ये
नहीं
चीज
है।
तुकार प्रभु से पूछ सकते हैं हम इस तुकार प्रभु से
हम्म।
पूछ सकते हैं, मैं श्योर नहीं हूँ, लेकिन ये मायावाद का अलग है, वैष्णव संप्रदाय में 4 हैं, वैष्णव समाज में ही 4
ओके
संप्रदाय
ओके।
होते हैं।
रोजी क्या क्या बोले वैष्णव मतलब श्री अ,
श्री,
क्या बोले ना?
रुद्र, कुमार
ओके
और ब्रह्मा। मतलब श्री जो है, जैसे जगन्नाथपुरी का जो मंदिर है वो श्री संप्रदाय में आता है। जितने बड़े बड़े भव्य मंदिर हैं, जो मेन उनका टास्क होता है वो होता है डीटी पूजा करना श्री संप्रदाय में। रुद्र संप्रदाय मतलब जो शिव जी के उपासक हैं, तो वे लोग ज्यादा करके अभी थोड़ा लुप्त होते जा रहे हैं। और कुमार के बारे में ज्यादा मुझे डिटेल पता नहीं है। और हमारा है ब्रह्म मध्व गौड़ संप्रदाय, ब्रह्मा जी से शुरू होकर इसमें मध्वाचार्य आगे चल करके आते हैं। और क्योंकि हम राधा रानी के उपासक हैं, बेसिकली केवल हम सोचते हैं कि हम डायरेक्ट कृष्णा के फॉलोअर हैं, हम एक्चुअली राधा रानी के फॉलोअर हैं। तो राधा रानी कब खुश होंगे? जब कृष्णा को हम खुश करेंगे, तो इसीलिए हम कृष्णा के फॉलोअर हैं, हम इनडायरेक्ट सेंस में है, तो इसलिए हमको गौड़ीय वैष्णव कहा जाता है। हम लोग गौड़ीय वैष्णव हैं इसी कारण से। तो ये ब्रह्म मध्व
राइट, ये
गौड़ीय
कहीं पे
संप्रदाय।
मेंशन्ड है क्या प्रभु जी कोई बुक में?
मैंने तो दुकानपुर से सुना था गुरु जी।
ओके,
वो आपको अच्छा रेफरेंस दे सकते हैं इस चीज का।
राइट, पूछते हैं फिर।
In the Padma Purana, it is stated that the personality of Godhead ordered His Lordship Shiva to deviate the human race from him, the personality of Godhead. The personality of Godhead was to be so covered that so that people could be encouraged to generate more and more population. His Lordship Shiva said to Devi, "In the Kali Yuga, I shall preach the Mayavada philosophy, which is nothing but clouded Buddhism, in the garb of Brahmana." After hearing all the speeches of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhattacharya was struck with wonder and awe and regarded him in dead silence. The Lord then encouraged him with assurance that there was no cause to wonder. I say that devotional service to the personality unto the personality of Godhead is the highest goal of human life. He then quoted a sloka from Bhagavatam and assured him that even the liberated souls who are absorbed in the spirit and spiritual realization also take to the devotional service of Lord Hari, because the personality of Godhead has such transcendental qualities that he attracts the heart of the liberated souls too. Roji, Shubham Prabhu can read from this.
Yes Prabhu ji. From this paragraph. Okay. Then the Bhattacharya desired to listen to the explanation of the Atmaram sloka from the Bhagavatam. The Lord first of all asked Bhattacharya to explain it, and after that he would explain it. The Bhattacharya then explained the sloka in a scholarly way with special reference to logic. He explained the sloka in 9 different ways, chiefly based on logic because he was the most renowned scholar of logic of the time. The Lord, after hearing the Bhattacharya, thanked him for the scholarly presentation of the sloka, and then, at the request of the Bhattacharya, the Lord explained the sloka in 64 different ways without touching the 9 explanations given by the Bhattacharya. Thus, after hearing the explanation of the Atmaram sloka from the Lord, the Bhattacharya was convinced that such a scholarly presentation is impossible for an earthly creature. Before this, Sri Gopinath Acharya had tried to convince him of the divinity of the Lord, but at the time he could not so accept him. But the Bhattacharya was astounded by the Lord's exposition of the Vedanta Sutra and explanation of the Atmaram Sloka, and thus he began to think that he had committed a great offense at the lotus feet of the Lord by not recognizing him to be Krishna himself. He then surrendered unto him, repenting for his past dealings with him, and the Lord was kind enough to accept the Bhattacharya. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord manifested before him first as 400 Narayana and then again as 200 Lord Krishna with a flute in his hand. The Bhattacharya at once fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord and composed many suitable slokas in praise of the Lord by his grace. He composed 100 slokas in praise of the Lord. The Lord then embraced him, and out of transcendental ecstasy, the Bhattacharya lost consciousness of the physical state of life, tears, trembling, throbbing of the heart, perspiration, emotional waves, dancing, singing, crying, and all the 8 symptoms of trance were manifested in the body of the Bhattacharya. Sri Gopinath Acharya became very glad and astonished by this marvelous conversion of his brother-in-law by the grace of the Lord.
हरे
Out
कृष्ण
of the
प्रभु जी
100, is true.
थोड़ा प्रभु जी मतलब राणा प्रभु आप सुन पा रहे हैं?
बिल्कुल सुन पा रहे हैं।
जी प्रभु जी मतलब यहाँ पे अगर सौरभम भट्टाचार्य ये जो है ये मतलब मायावाद 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 स्कूल के जो हेड है ना, ये मतलब जो मायावादी फिलॉसफी के
हेड तो शंकराचार्य हैं, ये उनके फॉलोअर हैं, उपासक हैं।
ओके 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 तो
हाँ,
मतलब
जी जो
ये पहले उन चीजों को फॉलो कर रहे थे,
सार्वभौम
लेकिन अभी
हरे कृष्णा, प्रभु जी सार्वभौम भट्टाचार्य
जी
हेड पुजारी थे जगन्नाथ टेम्पल के उस टाइम में।
हाँ जी, उसमें लिखा था ना, इसीलिए तो वो अपने घर लेके आ गए महाप्रभु को,
हाँ हाँ
इसी कारण से
एंड
उनको अथॉरिटी देगी जी।
ओके एंड प्रभु जी इसमें एक ऐसे भी देवता है आई थिंक जो कि काफी ज्यादा मतलब महाप्रभु से एज ए एनवियसनेस रखते थे, वो इसमें है क्या?
तो वो तो पढ़ने से पता लगेगा आगे।
हाँ आई थिंक इसमें नहीं है प्रभु, बिकॉज इसमें उन्होंने ब्रदर इन लॉ कहा है। जी प्रभु,
तो रिलेशन में आ गया
ओके
ना आगे करके।
जी प्रभु के one of the 100 celebrated slokas composed by the Bhattacharya in praise of the Lord. The following two are most important, and these two slokas explain the mission of the Lord in Christ. First, let me surrender unto the personality of Godhead, who has appeared now as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the ocean of all mercy and has now come down to teach us material detachment, learning, and devotional service to Him Himself. Second, since pure devotional service of Lord has been lost in the oblivion of time, the Lord has appeared to renovate the principles, and therefore I offer my obeisances unto His lotus feet. The Lord explained the word mukti to be equivalent to the word Vishnu, or the personality of Godhead. To attain mukti or liberation from the bondage of material existence is to attain to the service of the Lord. The Lord then
ये
proceeded
चीज पता
towards
है जो हरे कृष्णा, जो
जी
चैतन्य महाप्रभु हैं वो हर कली में नहीं आते हैं। मतलब ऐसा होता है कि ब्रह्मा के एक दिन में कृष्णा एक बार आते हैं, और जिस एक द्वापर युग में कृष्णा आते हैं उसी के नेक्स्ट कलयुग में चैतन्य महाप्रभु आते हैं। बाकी कलयुग में ना कृष्णा आते हैं ना चैतन्य महाप्रभु आते हैं। तो ये जो कलयुग है इसको बहुत ही ज्यादा मर्सीफुल कलयुग कहा जाता है। मतलब बाकी भी युगों में और भी अवतार आते हैं, मगर चैतन्य महाप्रभु स्पेसिफिकली या कृष्णा स्पेसिफिकली नहीं आते हैं, मतलब खुद के फॉर्म में।
ओके
दिस इज हाउ इट
अच्छा
गोस।
कुछ एक
तो
डाउट
इसी
था
वजह से जी
अभी
बोलिए।
जब से जो क्रिएशन हुआ है उससे इट मींस लॉर्ड ने बस एक ही बार एज अ इनकारनेट हुए कृष्ण कृष्ण के फॉर्म में यहाँ पर इट मींस
नहीं प्रभु जी, एक दिन में एक बार,
एक दिन में एक बार
ब्रह्म के एक दिन में।
कौन सा सातवें या हाँ 7वें या 14वें मनवंतर में आते हैं। मतलब कृष्णा के एक दिन सॉरी ब्रह्मा के एक दिन में 14 मनवंतर होते हैं, एक रात में 14 मनवंतर होते हैं, तो 7वें या 8वें मनवंतर में कृष्णा एक बार आते हैं। तो वो जो कैलकुलेशन आपको पता होगा ना,
आई थिंक ये
ब्रह्मा
अभी
के
पूरा
डे का
फर्स्ट ही चल
कैलकुलेशन।
रहा है पूरा ना, रिपीट नहीं हुआ आई थिंक ये रिपीट नहीं हुआ ना प्रो
ये 51st ईयर चल रहा है ब्रह्मा का।
अच्छा
ये
अच्छा
ब्रह्मा का
तो
51st
ये
ईयर
तो
चल रहा है
51st ईयर चल रहा है ब्रो।
जी ब्रो।
ओ
तो देखिए ये ऐसा होता है, कलयुग में 4,32,000 साल होते हैं, द्वापर युग में उसका 2 गुना, त्रेता युग में 3 गुना, और सतयुग में 4 गुना। तो ये चारों युग मिला करके एक चतुर्युग बनता है। 1000 चतुर्युग मिलाने से ब्रह्मा के 12 घंटे बनते हैं। ब्रह्मा के दिन में होते हैं 24 घंटे, ब्रह्मा 12 घंटे जग रहे होते हैं, बाकी 12 घंटे ब्रह्मा सो रहे होते हैं। तो ब्रह्मा जो 12 घंटे जग रहे होते हैं उसमें पूरा मटेरियल क्रिएशन जो है वो मैनिफेस्ट होता है। जिस समय ब्रह्मा सो जाते हैं तो जो 14 प्लानिटरी सिस्टम होता है उसमें से ऊपर के कुछ याद नहीं मुझे एग्जैक्ट नंबर 3 या 4 रहते हैं, बाकी नीचे के सारे एनहिलेट हो जाते हैं, उसको बोलते हैं टेम्पररी एनहिलेशन। तो ये जो पूरा एक दिन का जो चक्र है 24 घंटे का, इसमें कृष्णा एक, तो ये जो 12 घंटे हैं उसमें 14 मनवंतर होते हैं। तो ये जो 14 मनवंतर का जो पूरा सर्कल है, या 28 मनवंतर का जो हम पूरा एक दिन बोलते हैं, उसमें कृष्णा एक बार आते हैं, और जिस एक बार कृष्णा आते हैं उसी के नेक्स्ट कलयुग में चैतन्य महाप्रभु आते हैं। तो ऐसे करके ब्रह्मा का एक दिन हुआ, एक दिन करके ब्रह्मा का 365 दिन में एक साल होता है, और 100 साल जब ब्रह्मा की हो जाती है तब ये पूरा का पूरा मटेरियल क्रिएशन दोबारा से महाविष्णु के अंदर चला जाता है। और ये जो मतलब हम जो अभी कैलकुलेशन समझ रहे हैं, ये पूरा कैलकुलेशन जब एक बार खत्म होता है तो समझिए इस पूरे ड्यूरेशन में महाविष्णु एक बार श्वास बाहर निकालते हैं जब पूरा क्रिएशन बाहर है, फिर दोबारा जब श्वास अंदर लेते हैं तो पूरा क्रिएशन दोबारा उनके अंदर चला जाता है। और ये पूरे साइकिल में कृष्णा एक बार अपनी पलक झपकाते हैं। तो टाइम का कैलकुलेशन ऐसा है कृष्णा का।
इंटरेस्टिंग है काफी।
तो मतलब अगर कृष्णा अपना समय हमको देंगे तो हम सोच सकते हैं कि लाइक हमको क्या मिलेगा। भगवान बताते हैं ना, क्या बोलते हैं, भगवान बताते हैं गीता में, ये जब हम प्रपद्यन्ते ताम तथैव भजाम्यहम्, हम जो मेरे प्रति जितना ज्यादा सरेंडर होता है मैं उसको उसी के अकॉर्डिंग रिवार्ड करता हूँ। ये भी कहीं तो लिखा है, मुझे पता नहीं, कि अगर वो कोई मेरे प्रति 1% आ रहा है तो मैं उसके प्रति 10% आ जाऊंगा, खुद उसके प्रति चल के आ जाऊंगा। मतलब एक बार आए तो कम से कम मेरे
ये
प्रति,
मैंने भी सुना।
ऐसा भी कहते हैं कई बार कृष्णा।
जी गुरु जी।
So this is how it goes. तो प्रभु एक्चुअली इट्स 6:54, यहीं रखें आज के लिए।
जी
जी गुरु
हाँ शुभम प्रभु यहीं पर रखें, हिमांशु प्रभु।
जी
Right.
जी
धन्यवाद प्रभु। जगत गुरु श्रीला प्रभुपाद की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे।
हरि हरि बोल।